Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I am back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I'm going to be using the Layering Wisteria Stamps and Dies, as well as the add-on Stamps and Dies. If you are just stopping by to watch my video, this video is actually part of the Birthday Bliss blog hop for Honeybee Stamps. They are generously giving away two $50 gift cards to commenters along the way. So please make sure you like the video, subscribe, leave your comment for your chance to win. Your comment must be left before May 6th of 22, and they will be announcing the winner over on their blog page. So let's get into it. I wanted to do some work with my colored pencils. It had been a while since I've used them, and this stamp set is a layering stamp set. So it's got all the wonderful layers to stamp in various colors, but it also has the outline. And because I am a colorist, that is the route that I chose to go. I used Honeybee's No Line ink to stamp on some gray paper. And I always stamp mine twice just because I like a little bit of a bolder outline to follow along with. And you will also notice here that I am stamping with some of my stamps hanging off the edges. I am totally fine with that because I'm going to be using the dies. I was trying to fit it all on one A2 size card so I didn't have to cut another piece of gray cardstock. Just trying to conserve my supplies because I'm super cheap and I'm okay with that. But I knew that I was going to tuck the leaves behind some of the wisteria that would be hanging down, and then the actual branch of wisteria that I stamped off the page, I just knew that I would line that up with the side of my card because I was going to end up having to trim off some of it anyway. So with all of the stamping done, we're going to get into the coloring portion. I just picked some of the different cases that I have for the Prismacolor pencils, and we're going to be talking a lot about color blending. So there's a couple of different ways. You don't need to have all of them. I do have the 100 set, but I wanted to show you that you don't need it. You don't need all of the colors. It's the same thing that I say about Copics, which this would be beautiful colored with Copics as well. But for right now, we're going to be talking about how I blend my colored pencils and ways to get different color variation with just a handful of colored pencils. So if you don't know, wisteria is kind of a combination of purples, purple pinks, and purple blues. And so I started with just a basic color combination of hold on, I'm going to look them up. I know the middle color was the Parma blue, and then violet was my darkest, but I can't remember the name of the lightest purple that I used. You can probably hear me rattling around in my, little Prisma set. But, so basically, I put down my lightest color. It's lavender. Should have known that. It's lavender. So I put down my lightest color, and then I put down my medium color, so my mid-tone, and then my darkest color where I want it to be the darkest. And then I do the same thing in reverse, the same thing I do with my Copic markers, lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. And the reason that that's important with colored pencils is because you have to fill in the pores of the paper in order to get a solid color. Now, the first one I colored, I used the violet. This one, as my darkest color, I'm using a color called Dahlia Purple, which is a little bit more on the pink side. And you can see just by switching that one color that it changes the tone of the petal altogether. For this next one, I'm going to use a different color. This one is I think it's a blue violet. Yeah, it's a blue violet. Or maybe it's the purple hue. But regardless of what colors I'm using, like, you can just mix them up by changing the various colors that you're just one color. So for this one, then I switched out to a lighter blue. I did the same, violet color as my darkest color and the same lavender color as my base color. But then when I blended out the top, I used a light blue. If you want it to be more blue than that, you can just leave one purple in there. So I used the light purple, I used the Parma purple, And then I used this hue, this purple hue color, which is a little bit darker than just a regular violet, and blended that out, and then put the blue on top of that. And even like just changing those one or two colors, you get a different look. And so because of that, because of all the color combinations that we're using, when the entire piece is done, when all the branches are done, it has a lot of color variation, and it looks like we used a ton of different colors, but really we did the whole thing with just 4 or 5 pencils. And I think that that's something that's important to know, because I know, and I'm one of those people too, that I feel like I need to have the entire set of everything. And what is my friend Kathy? Full set syndrome. And you really don't need the full set of all of the things. If you have just a handful of something, I was on Facebook earlier today, and there was a lady who had commented that she had a house fire, which is horrendous and terribly sad. I had a friend of mine who had a house fire years ago and lost everything. And I mean, she was literally like the night of the fire was at Walgreens trying to buy her kids underwear, like awful. And so she had said all that she pretty much has left from her craft stuff is colored pencils. And she didn't think that it was trendy, and she didn't think that they were in style. And she felt like she needed to maybe sell her pencils and buy some distress oxides or buy some watercolors. And that's not the case at all. Like, you can use whatever it is that you have to make beautiful cards, to de-stress, to spend your time creating, because I know all of us use that as an outlet when we're going through things in life, that you don't need the greatest, latest, coloring medium. You can use what you have. So anywho, going through and coloring these and just trying to get lots of different variation, because that's what I prefer. Now, I realize that not everybody prefers that, and you could totally color this beautiful stamp with those same 3 colors of purple, and it would still be gorgeous, because, well, the stamp it's very pretty. But I wanted to show you that you can kind of get more bang for your buck just by changing 1 or 2 colors. So anyway, colored pencils are not easy for me. They take me a long time. They take me a long time, because I'm just more comfortable with Copic markers, and I realize that that's not the same, for everybody, and that's totally fine. You use whatever medium that you have or that you like. For the most part, you can apply the same type of rules. Just like with watercoloring, where you would maybe layer the colors. So the lightest to darkest, and then, darkest to lightest might not work with watercolors, but using various layers of color will, and which is the same concept that we're using with the colored pencils, which would be the same concept that I would apply to Copic markers. So once you learn kind of those fundamental things, you can really apply it to quite a few mediums across the board. And like this lady I was, saying, she was talking about getting distress inks or distress oxides. They're both, like, you can use them. They're reactive with water, so you wouldn't even need to buy watercolors. You could watercolor with them. I have a bunch of times, and they work really, really well for that. So yeah. So if you have not seen the new Honeybee release, the birthday Bliss release, I can't believe that they are 7 years old already. I have not been with them since the beginning, but I have been with them pretty close to it. And Melissa, who is the owner, is just wonderful. And Lisa, who does, quite a bit, working for Honeybee, is wonderful, and I just adore her. So it's just such a good company to work for, and I'm super grateful to be involved with them and to be celebrating with them their successes. For the stems here, I went through, filled it in with my lightest color, and then went back in with my darkest color, then the medium, and then the light. Now, I did all of these individually to kind of show you the process. For the leaf, I'm going to go in with the darkest color first because there's so much detail drawn into the leaf. I didn't want to lose that by covering up all the lines with my lightest color. So I chose to kind of outline it first and then go out to my lightest color and then go back in to my darkest. I did add a yellow in here just because I thought it would be nice to kind of break up the lights and the darks. And so once I'm done with that, I am going to speed things up quite a bit, just so I can show you how I do it when I'm not trying to show you each individual petal. So this goes by much, much faster. Basically, and you've seen me do it in my other videos, I'm doing some mapping. So I'm putting in more light purple or lavender petals because I know that I have more variations with that particular base than I do the blue. So I'm putting in a lot more purple, but then once those are mapped out, I'm going to go in with the light blue and do those as well. You can tell from the first flower that if you do the blue as the base, then your end result ends up being much more blue, which I think is a kind of good and fun variation, so that the flower isn't boring to look at. But then because this Parma purple is my middle for all of them, once that's mapped out, I can go in and add shading to all of the petals with this particular pencil. And then I can kind of pick and choose what my dark's going to be, blend them out again with this pencil, and then again with the lightest color. When I first pulled out the pencils, I'm sure you probably noticed that there was a white in there. I thought that I was going to use that to do some highlighting, but I ended up not using it. I ended up doing the centers, just that real light yellow, and I didn't really feel like it needed any more highlighting. I thought because of all the color variation that we had that it was sufficient. And so I was happy with the way that it looked, and ultimately that's really all I need to be because it's my card. Speaking of this card, I actually think that I'm going to, in this set, there's a bunch of sentiments, and one of them is Happy Mother's Day. There's a thank you and a congratulations, which I think are good standby sentiments. Like, they're good for a lot of things. And then on the add-on, there's no sentiment. So if you really love the stamp set, but you're like, hey, maybe I don't need the sentiments or I won't use the sentiments that are included, the add-on is always a good option as well. It has all the same layering in it. It is just, I think, a smidge smaller as far as the wisteria branch. But I think this is going to be the one that I give my mom. My mama doesn't like green. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that over the years. She's not a huge green fan. But like pinks, purples, blues, I think my mom can get behind. So this may be the one I end up giving her. I haven't really committed yet to what I'm doing with. Like, I know it's going to go to somebody for Mother's Day. That's the sentiment I used. I just don't know which one's going where yet, if that makes sense. But this one feels like my mama. Like, it feels the most like my mom, like something my mom would enjoy. So I think that's maybe end up being hers. As far as life goes, it's been a crazy week. We're getting ready for another crazy weekend next weekend. Next weekend's Mother's Day, if you can even believe that. It's so early this year. So early. It's May 8th. And I can't believe we're already in May. May 1st today when I'm doing this, and it'll be the 2nd tomorrow when you guys see this. So it's going by very quickly. Not this weekend. This weekend is busy. Not the one I'm currently on, next weekend. So we're celebrating Mother's Day with Eric's side of the family on Saturday, which is also my goddaughter's communion. But because I got the invite late and we had already planned on going to Eric's side of the family, I don't think I'm going to make it, which makes me super sad. But I'm going to have to pick up my goddaughter something for her communion because obviously that's a very big deal in her life. And I'm sad that I won't get to see her for it. But it is what it is. So we're going to go do that on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're going to see my side of the family for Mother's Day. And then the following Friday, we got invited to one of Nathan's friends is having a birthday party. So we got invited to that. I'm not sure. It's only for an hour, so I feel like we should be able to make a go of it, but I guess it's probably going to depend on how Miss Caitlin is feeling. We haven't really taken her out into public. She's visited family. I think I've taken her to maybe like one store. Eric's taken her to like one store. We haven't gone out to eat like at all. At all. She's been outside like in her, sitting on the porch or been outside in her stroller. Why was that a hard word to think of? And then obviously all of Nathan's basketball games we took her to. But as far as like going out into public places, that hasn't really been a thing for us. So I'm not really sure how she'll do. And it's one of those kind of like fun and games places where they have like go-karts and mini golf. And did we talk about the mini golf thing? I think we did. That we went and took Nathan to mini golf. I think we did talk about that. So that day, because it was like we were trying to spend time specifically with Nathan, I think my mom watched her. So all the coloring is done. Now I'm going to move on to die cutting all of these out so that I can build my card. But so anyway, we got invited to this birthday party. It's only an hour, like I said, so we'll probably try to make a go of it so Nathan can go and celebrate with his friend. And then the following weekend is Nathan's birthday. So May is super busy, super, super busy. And then usually, is it Memorial Day? I think it is Memorial Day. Yeah, so my sister's birthday is the 19th. So usually on Memorial Day, we get together for Memorial Day and we celebrate my sister's birthday together as a family. So May is just so busy. Peanut has decided he wants a Fortnite birthday, which should be easier than last year's, which was Roblox, and I had a hard time finding any decorations for that. Back to the card. So I used my anti-static tool. I'm going to be using the Honeybee Clear Embossing ink to stamp this down on the same gray cardstock that I used to color on. I did not give this really good pressure. As you can see, I did not even get an impression on the happy, either that or I didn't ink that well. Whatever. Thanks God for the Misty because I didn't ruin it. I could just go ahead and stamp it again and it'll totally be fine. I just made sure that I gave it good pressure this time around. And then I'm going to heat emboss this in white, right on, like I said, my little card panel there. I felt like I wasn't getting good coverage, so I tried to dump more on there and like half the bottle came out. But that's all right. I just filter it right back in there with my little piece of copy paper. And I kind of made a mess of that too. You'll see me like wiping it off and cleaning it up. I always preheat my gun before I do my heat embossing to minimize the warping. So it's been heating up while I've been stamping and putting the embossing powder on. So once that's all good and melted, I decided that I wanted to do something else to make it stand out. So this is the sharpener that I have. I like it very much as the Prismacolored pencil sharpener. I actually have two of them. So I sharpened up my black pencil and then I just went in and gave this a little bit of a drop shadow. So my light source is in the top right hand corner and so all my shadows are to the bottom left of the letters, and this just helps it stand out a little bit more when you're looking at it, because this is not a very dark gray and the white kind of blended in just a little bit more than I would have liked, so I had to do something to make it stand out. So this is how I chose to do it. So yeah, so Peanut wants a Fortnite birthday party, so I think we're planning on doing his birthday party on a Saturday, and I told him that he's obviously going to invite the kids from the neighborhood, we know that, but then I told him that he could invite a maximum, I had to set a max number because I just can't have too many kids, a maximum number of 5 kids from school that he could invite to his birthday party. So here what I'm doing is, Tombow Metal Multi Glue dries repositionable, and it's one of the reasons why it is a glue that I for sure always have on hand. Actually, I went to Joann Fabrics to buy something completely different, and so I was looking for glue for an unrelated project, and they don't sell it at all. Like, at all. I was shocked. And all of the ones that they carried were like the Eileen brand. I don't even own any of those. I don't know. I was just really surprised. So anyway, the whole point of me doing this, and you saw me tapping it with my finger to make sure that the glue was in fact dry, is so that I don't have to fuss with the little pieces parts moving around while I'm trying to arrange them. They have this little bit of tacky adhesive on the back so that I can put them down and they'll hold in place while I figure out what I'm doing and how they're going to lay. So I knew that I wanted to have a couple of the leaves kind of like coming down over top. And then I was going to tuck a few in here or there. Originally thought I was going to do this top corner, but I didn't. It covered up too much of the leaf. And so I ended up moving that branch of wisteria up just a smidge to cover the corner, and then I could use the leaves somewhere else. Obviously, you could cut more leaves if you needed. I felt like I had more than enough. And then I just tucked them in to kind of break up all of the purple and blue that I had going on. So once I have everything the way that I want it, then I'm going to go in with my honeybee glue and put them down permanently. So I first went in and glued the leaves to the branches, so that way I could kind of move them as one unit. They'd already be adhered together. And then I removed the branches so that I could go through and adhere them to the card base permanently. But this just makes it easier for me to be able to move them around if I already have the little finicky pieces, for lack of a better term. It's a very professional term, the finicky pieces. If I already have them where I want them to be, then I can just move everything together. So I let him pick 5 friends just because I cannot. We're at a weird age. I don't know if the parents are going to stay or not. When Nathan was little, I would never leave him at a party by himself, and he hasn't had one because of the pandemic. He hasn't had one now that he's a little bit older. He's 9. And so I don't really know what to expect. I don't know if these parents are going to be like, oh, you got invited and I'm going to stay and hang out, or, oh, you got invited and you're old enough that I can just drop you off and you can play at your friend's house and I'll pick you back up when the party is done. If that is the case, which I'm totally fine with, I just can't be responsible for too many children at one time and responsible for his party. Because I don't know if you know this, but sometimes there's a lot of drama when there's a lot of kids playing together because not everybody knows how to play nice. It's very, very dramatic. It's very dramatic. But I try not to make a big deal out of it because I know like they base their reaction off of your reaction, and I don't want him to think that these things are any kind of big deal. Like, you have to be able to adjust and adapt and get along with people and apologize when you're wrong, as well as accept somebody else's apology, forgive them, and move on. Speaking of moving on, so now that I have everything in place, these gems, I love them. They're fantastic. They are called Aurora Borealis, which I automatically love because I love the Northern Lights. You know, they're on my bucket list. And so I think that they're beautiful and I wanted to use them immediately. So I'm putting them on my card. They have 3 different sizes in the pack, which I am a huge fan of. I like having the size variation. I think that it makes them look so much nicer. I am using my clear glitter pen to add some shimmer right on top of my colored pencil. I will warn you, because colored pencils are wax-based, they don't soak in, so you do have to give your shimmer a minute to dry before you go in there and touching it, or you will kind of smear it because it doesn't dry right away. It sits on top. Here with my glossy accents, I decided that I was going to go in and just add a little dot over the centers, the yellow centers of the wisteria, just as another little added element for interest. Because even though I've got a lot of coloring and a lot of colors going on here, the card in general isn't super dynamic. So that is it. That's the whole card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please don't forget to join along the hop. The next video will be linked below in the YouTube description. Don't forget to leave your comments for your chance to win, and I will catch you guys all in the next video. Bye.